John De Smet was a Catholic priest, a Jesuit missionary, a businessman, a publicist, a fundraiser, and world traveler. He spent 43 years of his life in America as a missionary and supporter for the Oregon Jesuit missions. He traveled extensively, crossing the Atlantic 19 times, and it's calculated that he traveled more than 180,000 miles in his life, but possibly as many as 260,000 miles. This was a big deal. This is the 1800s we're talking about. It was hard to get around. And it's due to his enthusiasm, his energy, his writings, and fundraising that enabled the Northwest Jesuit missions to be founded and to remain opened. His life gives the Catholic historian much to ponder about Jesuit missionaries in 19th century America. The future missionary came from a family of 16 children. His father, John De Smet, was a wealthy shipowner and merchant. Peter certainly obtained a shrewd business sense from his father. He was born on January 30th, 1801 in Dendermonde, Belgium. He grew up a stocky, athletic young man with an adventurous and even reckless spirit, always taking risks. For example, he liked to jump as far as possible between boats while they were docked at harbor. His sister said that he was always in trouble. They called him Samson and Hercules, but to his credit, he usually only fought to help out someone in need. At the age of 13, he went to a boarding school where his father hoped he would find discipline. Something worked, and over the years he developed a religious sense and began thinking of becoming a Trappist monk. But the quiet life of the monastery wasn't meant for the adventurous spirit of De Smet. Instead, he met a Jesuit missionary from Kentucky, and De Smet's future as the apostle to the Rocky Mountains was set in motion. He never told his parents that he was going to the United States. Instead, he and a few other recruits sent farewell letters home and left to join the Society of Jesus. They snuck out of the country and on August 15, 1821, began their voyage on an American ship called the Columbia. It seems that De Smet left Europe more for the adventure rather than purely religious motives. Yet we find at the Jesuit novitiate near Georgetown, he was remembered not only for his common sense, honesty, virtue, and sense of duty, but also for his religious spirit. Adventure soon presented itself when he volunteered to join in founding a new novitiate at Florissant, just north of St. Louis, Missouri. His new home consisted of a crude house with no windows, just shutters, and their first school building was formerly a chicken coop and pig pen. They soon improved the building on the property, and being a muscular 210 pounds, De Smet showed himself invaluable, they say, doing the work of 3 men. As a student, he not only studied philosophy and theology, he also took it upon himself to become an amateur scientist, collecting specimens of insects, plants, reptiles, and minerals. This interest in nature continued with him throughout his missionary years, and it's obvious in his writings. He took his first vows as a Jesuit on October 10, 1823, and was ordained a priest on September 23, 1827. Sadly, his father did not live to see his son a priest, passing just a few months before at the age of 91. As a new priest, Father De Smet was then sent to help found what would become the University of St. Louis. His talents began to show, and his superiors sent him to Europe as a fundraiser and recruiter for more missionaries. But on this first trip home, he became very ill, and in 1835 left the Society of Jesus, becoming a parish priest in Belgium. Within a short time, though, he regretted the decision and soon returned to America, re-entering the order 2 years later. He then took up missionary work among the Potawatomi Indians at Council Bluffs, Iowa. The labor was trying, but this was what he really wanted to do. He remained there for 2 years until his legacy as a Catholic missionary to the Northwest began with the arrival of Indians from a remote tribe in Montana. The Flathead Indians sent several delegations searching for black robes. They had learned about the Catholic faith from Iroquois Indians who lived among them, and the leader of the Iroquois, Big Ignatius, had taught them about Jesus Christ, the cross, priests, and the Mass. In 1831, the first delegation of 4 Indians arrived in St. Louis. They visited General Clark, who had met the tribe during his famous Lewis and Clark expedition of 1804 to 1806. Afterwards, they visited the Catholic Church of St. Louis. Protestant sources say that the Indians were in search of the Bible, and the story of their entreaty for religion spread across the East Coast publications. Yet, the Bishop of St. Louis writes that no one could understand the Indians' language. The Indians did, however, know how to make the sign of the cross, and showed great love for the cross when shown it. 2 of the Indians got dangerously sick and were baptized before dying. They received a Catholic burial in St. Louis. The other 2 left for home but were never heard from again. Protestants were the first to send missionaries. In 1834, the Methodists, Jason and Daniel Lee, encountered the Flatheads, but the tribe did not welcome them. Then, in 1835, they met Marcus Whitman at Green River, but were again disappointed. As one Catholic historian puts it, the Flatheads were looking for long black-robed priests who have no wives, who say Mass, who carry the crucifix with them. In fact, the following delegations from the Flathead tribe proves what they were actually looking for. Old Ignatius went with the second group in 1835 and spoke French with the Jesuits about the possibility of sending priests to the Flatheads. Old Ignatius died making a third attempt to reach St. Louis in 1837. Finally, it was the fourth delegation of 1839, led by young Ignatius, that brought success upon meeting Father De Smet at the Potawatomi Mission in Council Bluffs. Father De Smet enthusiastically volunteered to go to the Rocky Mountains as a missionary. With approval, he left St. Louis on March 27, 1840, with young Ignatius as his guide. The Jesuit marveled at the beauty of nature as he traveled west for the first time. He was pleasantly surprised to find the Flathead Indians well prepared for converting to the Catholic faith. He shared their way of life, eating roots and wild game and sleeping on a buffalo hide wrapped in a blanket. He baptized hundreds before leaving to report to his superiors, and after reaching St. Louis, he left to the East Coast to raise money for the new Rocky Mountain Mission, thus beginning his work as a promoter of the missions. As quickly as he could, he returned to Montana, and on September 24, 1841, founded St. Mary's Mission for the Flathead tribe near present-day Missoula, Montana. The mission was designed as a town or settlement centered around a church, similar to the 1700s-era Jesuit mission settlements of Paraguay called reductions. He hoped to change the Indian lifestyle from that of a traveling hunter-gatherer to a settled farmer. Father De Smet began traveling around the Northwest, meeting various tribes, including the Coeur Indians, and founded the Sacred Heart Mission for them in 1842. This mission would flourish and eventually become the center of Jesuit missionary activity in the Northwest. The church there, which they began building in 1850, is now Idaho's oldest building and a state park. De Smet wrote several books which made these missions known to the world. He then made another visit to Europe where he gathered donations, returning to Oregon country with 6 religious sisters to help with this new missionary work. They sailed back around the tip of South America on a 7-month voyage. While entering the Columbia River in Oregon, their ship accidentally sailed up an uncharted channel and nearly ran aground as the water reached only 9 feet deep. Father De Smet says that their survival was miraculous. During his tenure as head of the Rocky Mountain Mission, he founded several missions, including St. Mary's Mission, as previously mentioned, St. Francis Borgia Mission for the Pend d'Oreille Indians, St. Ignatius for the Kalispell Indians, and St. Francis Regis and St. Paul's on the Columbia River at Colville, Washington. Father De Smet had many adventures. Among them, he survived whirlpools on the Columbia River because he decided to walk along the river instead of riding in the boat. Once, he slept in a hollow tree with bear cubs, pulling Mama Bear's tail when she tried to enter through an opening. She stayed out all night while he enjoyed a warm bed. A swirl of accusations of mismanagement and misrepresentation of the glowing success of the missions led to De Smet's removal in 1846. He did, however, remain in St. Louis, and in 1849 he became the vice provincial and procurator, so in charge of finances, for the Missouri province. While no longer in charge of the missions, he did, however, remain their financial supporter over the following years. During his lifetime, Father De Smet saw the nation grow. St. Louis went from a city of 4,000 when he arrived to nearly 500,000 people when he was an old man. He watched with sadness as the white man moved into Indian lands in greater and greater numbers. This invariably led to conflict, and 5 times Father De Smet sought to bring peace among the various Indian tribes and the American government. For this purpose, he attended the Fort Laramie Council in 1851. A few years later, in 1859, he also helped bring peace in North Idaho and eastern Washington. He also tried to bring peace among the Sioux and Cheyenne on separate occasions. Each time, he refused to receive payment from the U.S. government, wishing to remain independent and free to work for the good of the Indian tribes. Under President Grant, Protestant Indian agents took over the administration of most Catholic Indian schools and missions. In Yakima, Washington, Catholic missionaries were then forbidden to enter the land where they previously had a mission. And it was there that a Methodist minister asked a Catholic Indian chief how much it would cost to convert to Protestantism. "A big price," he responded. So the minister started offering $200, and then $500, and then finally $600. Each time the chief said that it would be much higher. Frustrated, the minister finally told him just to state his price. "The price of my soul," was the answer. Whenever he returned to Europe, Father De Smet spread the missionary spirit, encouraging nearly 100 souls to go to America as missionaries. He also collected tens of thousands of dollars for missions, counting in the millions in today's currency. With these efforts, Father De Smet is partially responsible for the continuance of the Rocky Mountain Mission, despite the fact that he was no longer directly connected with its administration. He even wrote more books to keep interest in the missions alive. Father De Smet made his last voyage to Europe in 1871 at the ripe old age of 70. He was getting old, and even the smallest task wore him out. But he kept on working to help the missions wherever he could. Returning to America, he began writing a history of the Missouri province, but hardly got started. He passed away on May 23, 1873. Father De Smet is the most famous Catholic missionary of modern American history. He lived his life working to help Native Americans. He founded the Rocky Mountain Mission, but also founded the first Jesuit missions in the Pacific Northwest. Though he only led the missions for a few years, his work as promoter and fundraiser are indispensable. His was an adventurous spirit, but his life became one of simply managing finances. He was unique. As one contemporary put it, he was a saint, but a saint according to his own way.